Welcome to Lesson 4. In this lesson I will show you how to create a jQuery mobile theme using jQuery Mobile Theme Roller. jQuery Mobile is quite a powerful framework right out of the box, but it can take a lot of time to build a theme from scratch. jQuery Mobile Theme Roller is a web-based tool which helps to speed up and streamline jQuery mobile theme creation. It is also extremely easy to use. Theme Roller allows you to create up to 26 theme swatches lettered from A to Z, each having a unique colour scheme. You can mix and match these swatches as you please, providing almost unlimited creative possibilities. The default theme includes 3 swatches that are given letters A, B and C for quick reference. Each of these can be easily removed or overwritten as desired. A gallery of great jQuery mobile examples can be found at http://www.jqmgallery.com. As you can see, this site is currently on screen and there are some fairly good examples there. We encourage you to take a look at this site to help give you an understanding of what is possible using jQuery Mobile. If you think back to our previous lesson, you will remember how we created a jQuery mobile theme using Fireworks CS6. Since we're also creating a theme in this lesson, it will obviously be quite similar to the last. Even though this lesson is quite similar in some ways, the process to create a theme using Theme Roller is a lot different, and this is definitely the preferred method to create themes for jQuery mobile applications, seeing that Fireworks CS6 is no longer supported by Adobe. This lesson will be broken up into the following 4 sections. Section 1 will be starting a new theme and navigating the swatches. Section 2 will be create, edit and delete the swatches. Section 3 will be exporting the theme, and finally Section 4 will be adding the files to your project. After completing the lesson so that the Theme Roller theme has been added to the project, if you open the index.html file in the browser, the finished product will look like this. Before starting, ensure that you download the working files for this lesson. Section 1. Starting a new theme and navigating the swatches. To begin with, open your favourite browser and go to https://themeroller.jquerymobile.com. After it loads, the site should greet you with a welcome message. To get started, click Get Rolling. To the left of the page, you should see a control panel with global theme settings and swatches A, B and C. This control panel is where all the magic happens. You can set some global settings such as font family, corner radius for groups and buttons, icon settings, and also box shadow settings. Since these are global settings, if you play around with them, you'll notice that the changes are made to every single swatch displayed to the right of the control panel. These are the types of settings that you want to be uniform throughout your design. To give a short explanation of each, the font family obviously sets the font you want to use throughout your design. This is pretty self-explanatory. The corner radius section allows you to change the radius of grouped elements and buttons. You're basically deciding how round you want the edges to look. The icon section lets you decide whether you would like the default icon to be shown with or without a circular disc behind it. You can also set the color and opacity of the disc also. The box shadow section lets you choose a box shadow color, opacity and also its size. Next to the global settings, we have swatches A, B and C. If you select one of the swatches, you will notice that there are drop-down sections to change settings for the page, header footer bar, body, link, button normal, button hover, button pressed and active states. To break each of these down, the page section lets you change a page's text color, text shadow including horizontal, vertical offsets, blur and shadow color. You can also set the page background color and border color. The header footer bar section lets you change the text color, text shadow, background and border color of the header and footer. The body section lets you change the body text color, text shadow, also the background color and border. The link section lets you change the swatches link colors. The button normal section lets you change the text color, text shadow, background color and border color of the normal button. The button hover, button pressed and the active state have exactly the same options as the button normal. Next, we will start working on our theme. Section 2. Create, edit and delete swatches. Aside from editing the settings of a specific swatch, Theme Roller's control panel gives you the ability to create additional swatches. You can also delete any swatch that you no longer need or duplicate one that you would like a copy of to create a similar swatch. To create additional swatches, you need to click the plus icon in the Theme Roller control panel, which is located to the right of the swatches. Clicking on this icon will add one swatch. You can add up to 26 of these swatches and they will be labelled alphabetically from letters A to Z. To delete any swatches that you don't want or need anymore, first select the swatch and then click delete at the top right of the control panel. Careful though, because this will completely remove that swatch and there's no way of getting it back. Duplicating a swatch is performed identically to deleting one, but by clicking duplicate instead. This will make a copy of the currently selected swatch. Now that we've gone through each of Theme Roller's features, it's time to start creating our theme. We're going to keep things simple and use only one swatch in this app, so the first thing we need to do is delete the extra swatches so that we only have swatch A left. To help you get a better understanding of how everything works, have a play around with each of the settings in the control panel. Once you feel you're familiar with the Theme Roller settings, go to the Global tab and expand both the icon and box shadow settings. Change the default icon to without disk and change the box shadow opacity and size both to 0. That's all we need to change for our global settings. Now open up the Swatch A tab and expand the page section. Change the text color to hash 0F4465. Change the text shadow to 000 and leave the color because that doesn't matter. Change the background to hash 84B8D8. And change the border to hash 000. Open the header footer bar section and change the text color to hash 0F4465. Change the text shadow to 000 and again leave the color because that doesn't matter. Change the background to hash FEFB00. And change the border to hash 000. Continuing on, in the body section, change the text color to hash 0F4465. Again, change the text shadow to 000 and leave the color. Change the background to hash FEFB00. and change the border to #000. Leave the link section, but in the button normal section, change the text color to #0F4465. Change the text shadow to 000 and leave the color because that doesn't matter. Change the background to #FEFB00. And change the border to #000. Make the button hover exactly the same as button normal. Button pressed and active state are the same as each other also. Change their text color to #0F4465. Change their text shadow to 000 and as with the others, leave the color. Change the background to #B2B01B. And change their border to #000. That's the look of our theme basically done now. Time to export the theme in the next section. Section 3, Exporting the theme. Once you're finished editing the theme, it's time to download your theme as a zip file, so it's ready to be implemented in your jQuery mobile project. You will find a button at the top of the jQuery mobile theme roller page titled Download Theme Zip File. To download your theme, you need to click this button. After clicking the button, you should see a pop-up modal window, and at the top right of this window, you need to enter a theme name. Call the theme My-Theme. The code with the orange highlighted text shows you how you will need to link your new theme to your project after it is downloaded. Once you're ready, you can click Download Zip. Section 4, Adding the files to your project. Once the zip file is downloaded, you will need to extract it somewhere. The desktop is usually a good place, so copy the zip file and then create a new folder on the desktop and extract the theme there. Once that is done, go into the jQuery mobile directory within the project. This is the directory that we set up to house all of our jQuery mobile files. What we need to do is delete all of the files in this folder, including the image directory, all apart from jQuery.mobile-1.4.5.min.js and jQuery.mobile.structure-1.4.5.min.css. If you're wondering why we just deleted a lot of the jQuery mobile files, It's because most of them were unused and actually would never be used within our app. You will notice that most of the files have a regular and minified version. For example, our theme has a mytheme.css and a mytheme.min.css version. These minified versions have all of the code formatting and whitespace stripped out of them to help cut down on the file size. It's a good idea to keep the minified versions if you have no intention of changing those particular files later on. Otherwise, as we just showed you, any files that are unused within an app or a project, whether they're minified or not, can be deleted to help cut down on the app's file size. With that done, you can now copy all of the files from the themes directory of the extracted zip file. This is an images folder with 3 .css files. After copying them, paste them into your project's jQuery mobile directory. We have now replaced the default theme files with our own. But there is one file that we copied over that we won't be needing, and that's my-theme.min.css. This is because we might make changes to the theme in a later lesson, so we'll keep the unminified version of the theme. Delete my-theme.min.css. Once our new themes files have been copied over into the jQuery mobile directory of our project, all we need to do to get our theme to work is change some links in the project's index file. To do this, in a browser we first need to open the index file that came with our theme roller theme. And just a word of warning, open this in any browser other than Google Chrome. After opening this file, you'll see that it explains how to link up your new theme. What we need to do is copy the top 2 links and then open our project in Dreamweaver CC. Once you've opened your project, put the mouse cursor at the end of our project's title and hit enter. And then you can paste the links just below the title. Okay, there's just a couple more things that we need to change. The 2 links that we just copied into the index file of our project point to a themes directory that doesn't exist. We need these 2 links to point to the jQuery mobile directory like the rest of them. So you can copy the jQuery mobile portion of text from the href in one of the other links and paste it over the top of themes in the top 2 links of our project. If you look at the top link, you'll see that it's pointing to the file mytheme.min.css. You might remember that we deleted the minified version of our theme CSS file earlier. So you can delete the .min portion in the top link. And now you'll see that our theme is showing correctly. Go to File and click Save All. Well done. You've now completed this lesson. Now, if you want to test the app in a browser or check it out in Dreamweaver's live view, you'll see that the theme we created is working correctly.